days, but we got a good topic today. One returning guest, and we have one new guest. So I'm going to introduce here a little bit. We got David's trying to get on the screen here. So let me go to Jakari Givens first. I don't know that a lot of people for 5 Reasons know you that well yet. You've been on the website a couple times. So give us a little bit of your background before we get to today's topic.
My name is Jakari Givens. I'm a former college and pro athlete. Played at the University of Kansas from 2010 to 2015. Uh, I just got into reporting thanks to Ethan. He gave me an opportunity, so I'm just happy to be on broadcast with you guys today.
All right. So, yeah, the thing about Jakari that David and I can't do is he played football at a pretty high level. So he might be able to speak this a little better than us. David Eversole, you joined us once before. I think your connection is better today, so that'll be good. But
yeah, thanks, Comcast, for once.
Well, one of the reasons we're having you on today, though, is because you actually run a Twitter account that is contrary to what you're going to argue today, correct?
I can't confirm or deny that, but yes, I do have an interest in hurricane buzz, put it that way.
All right, so that's all right. So we're gonna get to that in a second. We'll get very specific. The reason we have the two of these guys on is I like to get guys who don't agree on stuff because we've had a little bit too much agreement, and we had a pretty spirited debate on one of our 55 DM strings a couple of days ago. So we're gonna start here though, and I'm gonna go to David first, and then I'll go to Jakari. The Canes are 2-3. It feels like they haven't beaten a Power 5 program in forever. They just lost again at home to a very mediocre Virginia Tech team. I don't think anybody thinks that's a strong Virginia Tech team. The 2 wins, one of them I don't even know if we count against Bethune. The other one against Central Michigan, which then got blown out by Western Michigan the next week. So before we get into the specifics, how bad are the Hurricanes' problems right now?
Well, I think it really starts from the top down with Manny as far as the coordinators he's brought in. The look on defense especially is just one of a team that seems lost. Guys are out of position. They're missing tackles. I think Jakar could probably, attest to the X's and O's a little better than I can. But just from watching football for 40-plus years, this doesn't seem like they're in a position to win. The guys are going out there with a lot of hype and a lot of, talk, but they're really not backing up on the field with their play. And it starts with the mental mistakes. I feel like they're very undisciplined, and they're just lacking real, true leadership to steer the ship right now.
Jakari, when you look at it from an X's and O's perspective, because I feel like this is always where we go with the Canes, like trio under Mark Richt. When you look at what they're doing from an X's and O's standpoint, is the issue here, or do they just not have the players yet under Manny's system?
Well, for one, when we speak about Miami football, talent will never be an issue. So it's not the talent. It's always X's and O's. So if you notice now, like when Manny Diaz was the defensive coordinator, if you notice how much they did blitz a lot. Manny brought pressure every down. It seemed like when they went 10-2, that year they got hot. They was blitzing a lot, running a lot of zone schemes. But now, if you started to see, they don't get pressure with 4-man fronts at all. So I don't know if it's because Blake, the defensive coordinator, doesn't have the wherewithal like to where he's coming from, or is he just not comfortable with his guys on the back end? Because the secondary does look like an issue. So when in years past, they had a strong secondary. You lost Jaquan Johnson. That's probably the biggest loss they had at safety. Like, he was a big leader to the team. So you have to look at it from that point of view. When you lose a player his caliber, it kind of changes your scheme up. And are the guys understanding what their scheme is meant to do? So, for instance, when I was in college, right, we had our defensive coordinator, Clint Bond. One of the most well-prepared defensive coordinators you'll ever come across. But we just didn't have the guys to run his scheme. He wanted to be a press man-to-man team, and we didn't have the guys. The Miami Hurricanes have the guys. I just think their schemes is not adding up to their talent base, as in they're not running the schemes for their talent. So I think it's a lot of problems, but I think Manny Diaz, like I read today that he's gonna be more hands-on with the defense. So I think we'll see a change going down the stretch.
All right, so let's get to the second part of this because I feel like you can't talk about the Canes this year without talking about the offensive line, right? So that's not a scheme thing, Jakari, right? Like, and we'll go to you first, and then David. I mean, we can talk about the defense and Manny taking over the defense, but the offensive line just looks overmatched, and the problem is it looks overmatched against opponents that it shouldn't be overmatched against. Like Central Michigan beat them up basically on both sides, and the Canes had all those penalties in part because they were holding everybody because they couldn't physically handle them. How does this program bring in better offensive linemen? Because this has been a consistent problem now for a bunch of years.
So I did some research before we started.
Mm-hmm.
Since the Hurricanes joined the ACC, they had one 10-win season. So I think one of the biggest problems is the teams they're playing have gotten better, like across for the last couple of years. Everybody's gotten better. Miami's losing out on recruits. They're going to other schools. I don't think it's got anything to do with the facilities or whatnot. I just think people don't want to play for Miami anymore because it's not the thing it once was. Like you have people who want to go play for Alabama because they know when I go to Alabama for 3 years, I'm gonna do my thing in 3 years, and I'll be in the NFL in those 3 years. Miami doesn't have that. Let's think about some O-line or D-line guys they have been drafted in the last couple of years. Besides Linder at the Jacksonville Jaguars, I mean, that's the best offensive lineman we've had in the last couple of years.
Yeah, I mean, that makes it tough. I mean, David, when you watch them, and one of the things, I think you talked about this on a previous episode we had, but it's been said that you can get the skill guys down here, but you got to get the offensive linemen from somewhere else. So,
Yeah.
but they're not getting the top guys. And the top guys they're getting, David, aren't playing. That's the other thing. I mean, that's been another issue.
Well, I think we're getting too hung up on 4-star, 5-star. It's how you develop talent. You can have these guys out of high school with these great ratings on 24/7 or Rivals or whatever, and they're not getting coached up in the fundamentals because that's not coached on the high school level. They're just, these guys are getting bigger, they're putting on weight, and then they're throwing them in at guard or tackle, and they're just not equipped for the nuances of that position yet. And that takes a lot of time. That takes really solid hands-on coaching for years to develop a good feel for being an offensive lineman, especially at this level. And if you look at the tackle position on both sides, they're just missing assignments. They're getting blown off the ball. They're getting beat physically. They're getting beat mentally. It doesn't really matter what you throw at. You could bring 4 guys, kind of the opposite of what Miami's able to do. They're getting pressure with 4, then they're dropping 7 into coverage, and Williams can't find anybody open, and then he's down in 2 seconds. So it's a lot of chemistry issues. There's been reshuffling with the tackle position. It's just a group that lacks continuity, that lacks cohesion, and they really are mediocre talent-wise. I don't, like Jakari said, when did the last elite offensive line recruit you see coming through Miami? It just doesn't happen. That's not the style of program that they're built right now. And when they go against a team that has any kind of physicality in the trenches, they're just getting manhandled.
Yeah, I mean, you look at. I mean, I'm trying to think of the last great offensive lineman for Miami to come into the pros. I mean, was it I don't know, Vernon Carey, Bryant McKinney? I mean, we're going back. Like there's not a whole long list of these guys. All right, next topic. I want to get to a third topic here, which is the quarterback position. It sounds like Manny is going back to Jarren Williams. Did either of you guys, and I'll start with David on this one, did either of you guys have a problem if Jarren is the future, if it's not Nkosi, if you're not going to go back to Tate Martell, if Jarren is the future, did you have any issue with Manny pulling him? I know that Perry played well. Did you have any issue, David, with Manny pulling him after the 3 interceptions in the first quarter?
I don't at this point because the team needed a lift, and obviously, in hindsight, that decision almost came to fruition, and they almost won the game. But almost don't really get you very far in this day and age. I think it was the right decision. Williams on the sideline, his body language seemed good. He seemed to still be engaged. And maybe just taking a step back, watching the game from that setting, maybe he could process a few things differently, go back and watch the tape and learn from it. He's pretty strong mentally. He beat these guys out to win QB1. So I think he can handle it. And I do think it was, in this instance, perhaps the right decision, maybe a little quick to pull the trigger. But the team did respond, so hindsight's always 20/20 in this instance. But I have no problem with them making the decision at that point in the game. The team needed a spark, and for the moment, it was an okay decision in my book.
Jakari, you played on some high-level teams, and if you had a quarter, if you're told the whole off season we're going to settle this thing in camp, one guy steps through and outplays the others at least enough that the coaches made the decision to go with him in a tight 3-man competition. He has a really strong game against North Carolina, played pretty well against Florida, seems to be coping well behind offensive line, just has a horrible quarter. If you're on his team there, do you lose any belief in him just because the coaches basically decide after one quarter we got to go another direction?
No. One reason why I say no is because you never know how the guys are performing in practice. So that's what the players are based off. Like, we see these guys in practice, so we know what they're going to do. So there shouldn't have been no issue. I think the team has confidence in Perry. I think Perry got better because of the competition with the 3 guys, because Perry looked way better than he has in the past. Like, he looked decisive. He looked like he knew what he was doing. Like, last year was kind of like he was struggling to find the open guys, like he was ready to play. So it's no issues with that. Like, they should be fine with that. Williams, I think his biggest problem is he doesn't take what the defense gives him.
Mm-hmm.
He looks for the big play a lot. So it's like he doesn't process the defense like this is what I should do, or no. Like, he's trying to look for the home run play. So
yeah, and I've noticed that, and I think that has led to some of the sacks. I mean, I'm not going to excuse the offensive line, but there have been a lot of occasions, even when he's played well, that I've been like, Jaron, get rid of the ball.
He holds the ball a lot, and I think that's what made Tom Brady the best quarterback ever. He takes what the defense gives him. Oh, you want to take away the deep ball? Oh, I'll take the 5 yards, 5 yards, 5 yards, 5 yards, 5 yards. So it's a lot for a quarterback to take.
All right, let's go to number 4 here. I'll start with you, Jakari. Manny Diaz. I've never seen a guy go from this hyped to so many people being down on him so quickly. And I mean, it kind of happened with Mark Richt a little bit. I mean, he was 10-0 at one point, and everybody wanted him out. Watching Manny now through 5 games, what does he need to improve on?
Preparation. His team doesn't look prepared when they come out to play. And I don't know if it's practice or if he's just inexperienced as a coach. It's just he needs to be better prepared coming out of bye weeks. That was terrible coming out of bye week. 28-0 after 2 weeks to prepare for one team. That was terrible. So I think his preparation needs to be better. And he needs to get back to the basics of winning football games. And it doesn't have to be pretty. It could be smash mouth football. You had DJ Dallas at running back, who's one of the better backs in the country, in my opinion. Mm-hmm. And going back to playing hard-nosed defense like they were in the past.
David, your view of him?
Well, I think it also falls down to his coordinators and the way he's directing them, and he's got to interject. Like with Dan Enos, I wrote about it for the site. He only called 6 running plays in the first half. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you were down, but there's a ton of game left, and you can't just put so much pressure on Williams constantly, play after play, with these, like you said, elaborate, 7-step drops. The line can't hold that quick. You're not having any play action. You're not getting him outside the pocket. You're not giving him the easy throws, like Jakari said, and he's not taking them when he has them. But that's another point. But I don't think Dan Enos is doing him a lot of favors with the play calling. You're running a lot of deep stuff. Guys on the edge trying to hit the home runs, like we've been talking about. Build some balance in the offense and the play calling. It'll give you some play action options, some RPOs. Just throw some different looks out there. Get the ball to Lowry and Brevin Jordan, who had another fantastic game. Use those guys. Dan Enos is known for cultivating tight ends into his offense, but besides Jordan, you've really got nothing from Mallory, and we want to talk about the rest of the guys in the depth chart.
Not to mention, their best player is DJ Dallas. Like we can't. He's been the most consistent player all year, so I don't understand why he's not involved in the game plan a lot.
Yeah,
Six carries.
Six carries in the first half is ridiculous. All right, so let's get to what was the hottest button topic we had. This is number 5, our final topic today. I thought you'd be on a different side of this, David, but you're not. You wrote a piece for the site basically saying to put the props away. All right, turnover chains, rings, all that stuff until you win. And again, there's an account that you run that kind of is tied to this, and everybody was real excited about this about a year ago. So tell me why you've come to this, because I know Jakari has an opinion. So David, you go first.
It rings empty right now. You're down 28-0, and a guy makes one play, and you're gonna go out and accomplish anything. Win a game first. Beat the shit out of Central Michigan first. I get the swag, and listen, when that chain came out in 2017, and the Notre Dame game was probably the most electric atmosphere we've had in Miami Hurricanes in over a decade. And a lot of that mystique came from the gravitas of the turnover chain. It's quintessential Miami. It's so Miami, and I love it. And I get the connection. The players seem to respond to it. But you're turning the ball over 5 times, and you fall in a meaningless fumble down 35 points or something, and you parade around with a chain around. Right now, you should get, maybe if you have a good performance and you win a game, and then give the guy the turnover chain at the end of the game. I think Vishnu in our chat mentioned that. Something like that, just right now, when these type of performances are happening week after week, and you're handing out a good performance award, it just seems kind of contradictory.
Jakari, you don't agree, correct?
So no, because number one, let's think about it like this. Think about a guy who's not getting 60 to 70 snaps in the game. All right, I'm playing special teams strictly, and he go out there and make a big play. Like, that's gonna ignite him to want to play harder. Like, oh, I got the turnover chain on, or I got the touchdown rings on. So I disagree because it's taking the fun away from the players. The players are playing bad, but it's more so the coaches coaching them. And I want to make one point. Mark Richt overhyped this program. That's really what made this program go down, if you want me to be honest, because that year he had was just like, oh, we're going to be a national champion. Like, if you tell by the games they were winning one, like, close possession games. The turnover chain took over the whole country. Like, you got people out there like, oh, it's turnover chain. And their defense was ignited off that. Now they're not getting turnovers. We don't see the chain as much. They're not as good as the team. But the chain should stay because it's fun for the players. And, you know, it's a grind throughout the year, so that's fun. Like, I know if I go make a big play, I get to see myself with the chain. And I'm so Miami. Like, this is why we come to Miami to play. Like, I got the chain on.
It is a balance, right? Because we're saying that to be able to get players to come here, the program has to represent Miami, right? But at the same time, I do see David's point that, like, when it came out on Saturday, I was like, okay, come on. I mean, that was one of the worst quarters of football they played in a long time. And I sat through the Central Michigan game, and I understand it, but it's this balance. And I feel like that's kind of what Manny's got caught in here, because the whole offseason was about being very Miami again, right? The portal, social media. But then he had to back it up with wins, and they don't have the wins. And so that's kind of where you're stuck in the middle here a little bit.
To give Manny Diaz a break, he's 2-3 after 5 games. So let's not judge after 5 games like, oh, he's not the guy or nothing like that, because I don't believe that. I think he's a great coach. I just think he wasn't prepared what it was going to take to win in the ACC with every team around him that is better. Miami is not the best team in the ACC like they were in years past in the Big East. We have not been the best team in the ACC. Florida State had their run of like 5 years where they were the best. Now Clemson has their run. Miami has yet to have a run where they were the best team in the ACC.
No, that's true. And you thought this might be the year on the Coastal because you got Virginia Tech that's down. You got some of these other programs that are down, but it hasn't happened. All right, you got to follow him. You guys, you both have unusual Twitter handles, so can you please give them out? You don't have to give out all yours, David. Where do they find you, Jakari?
King Jock 24. It's JOCK on Twitter. That's my Instagram. That's every social media handle I have.
All right, David, give me the ones you can give us.
Simple at SportsWave Dave. That's all I need to know.
All right, at SportsWave Dave. I'm at 5 Reasons Sports. Catch these guys on the website and everywhere else. Again, King Jock 24, probably the best Twitter handle on our network. Guys, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
All right, guys.
Thanks, guys.
All right.
Not Wave Sports Dave.